Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Janine Queenan, and I am one half of the dynamic duo here at Janine and Amy's Travel TV Live. We're dynamic duos, I think.
Yeah, we are. And we're very dynamic.
We are really excited that you're here. As y'all know, it will be a while before we can travel like we used to. But Amy and I are looking forward to the day that we can travel in real life. In the meantime, we are exploring the different destinations with our friends from around the world. So before we start, we want to know from you, where do you want to go? Tell us below. Just let us know. How many of you said Israel? I bet a bunch. Well, you're in luck because we have Judy Isaacson here from Custom Israel and Holy Land Private Guided Tours. And we're super excited. And hey, Judy, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. So we're going to jump in just a second, but I want to introduce my partner in crime, my co-host, Amy Kaufman-Rylahan. Hey, Amy.
Hey, Janine, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Judy,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm happy it's Thursday. It's been a long day today, so I'm happy it's Thursday and I get to see your beautiful face and make a new friend, Judy, all the way in Israel. So thank you again, Judy, for joining us. I'm so excited you're here to hear all about your beautiful, beautiful world down there. But before we get started, I have one question for you. So when we're able to, and we're free to move about the world, what's going to be your next vacation or your next trip?
I think my next trip is going to be Vietnam.
Ooh, why? Why Vietnam? Tell me.
Well, I really like Eastern cultures. It's supposed to be a very laid-back country. There is good climate if you go north, I'm told. So we expect that. I've been to Thailand and I've been to India. So this is another opportunity to see the East, and that's what I'd like to do.
Outstanding.
Yeah,
that's on my list too. Vietnam is on my list too.
Good vegetarian food there, and the crafts are amazing. So
there you go. So check all those boxes.
Right. Yeah. So as Amy said, you are live from Israel, and we are super excited to have you here. And we want to let everyone know about your beautiful country and how they can visit and working with you and all that good stuff. But I have to address the elephant in the room, because people have said to me they're nervous about traveling to that area of the world. So what do you say? How do you respond to that? I have been to Israel, and I really, it was life-changing. There was this energy there or something that really, I just found it to be such an amazing experience that if people want to go, I really hope that they will go. So how do you respond to that?
Well, you're right about the energy. This is a very young country. Excuse me, and we have a very young population also, and you feel it. I've been to Europe, and I come back here, and I feel the excitement of kids, of young people, and that's who's in our army. That's who's really looking after us. As far as security goes here, we've got very tight security. The army is involved in different places. We don't even know about it. They're kind of in the background. Kids are out in the streets on their own, walking, playing, talking. And parents do not worry about that. At the hotels and at the restaurants, there are security guards at the doors. At the airport, when you arrive, there is security checking the people who are coming in. The country is very security conscious, and we take good care of the citizens and of the visitors. So every guest we've had has turned around to me and said, I didn't think it would be like this. I feel so safe.
Oh,
so
yes.
That must mean something.
I felt the same way. I did. I really felt like the people, our hosts, were taking very, very good care of us. So that's great. I just want to say hi to Sarah. She's stopping by to say hello. And I want to remind everyone, if you have any questions for Judy, make sure you pop them below. I mean, she's happy to answer your questions about visiting, of anything you want to know. So why don't you do that? And let's jump into the questions. I want to show one picture from my trip. So it just makes me laugh. So this is the Dead Sea. And I know a lot of people go specifically for this, and I know it, people know it's the lowest point on earth. Very salty, so you float, but you really do float. Like, it's absolutely no way to swim. And we just love that. Oh, I just did solo. I didn't mean to do that.
That's okay. It's all right.
So anyway, my whole point is we had a great time, and you sent us a lot of wonderful pictures. So I thought we'd just start to show them, and you could tell us what they are and stories around it. And while we're doing that, we'll talk about visiting and how to plan a trip. So
Absolutely.
This is you. This is Asli, right? Am you?
Yes.
So where is this?
Yes. Okay. So this is a trip that I took in February. That wall behind me is the wall that separates Israel and Gaza, the Gaza Strip.
Oh
So
my golly.
Yes, I am down at the Gaza Strip in one of the settlements on the Israel side, and this wall behind me is a wall that's being created by mosaics. Everybody who comes down there is asked to put in a mosaic, and they're building the mosaic, the artwork on the wall as we stand there. But it's a place. The reason we show it is that basically, yes, you can actually be there, and yes, we actually go into neighborhoods there and we talk to the people. And that was one occasion where I was talking to different people who live there, and they hosted us. And it's a beautiful area. Again, all of this is done with coordination with the Army. The guides know what they're doing. We're in touch with everybody. It's not just that you were driving down there, one day without checking. Everything is checked ahead of time. So there I am that particular day.
And I know that you arrange for people to have dinner in people's homes and things like that. So tell us a little bit about that. How does that work? And what's that experience like actually visiting with a family and sharing a meal with them?
Well, there's really no better way to get to know Israel and the people. So we arrange different kinds of experiences. One could be a Sabbath dinner at people's homes, and you go in and as your family, whoever your small group, and you're actually hosted in a real home with an Israeli family. They explain the different customs and the different things they're doing at the Sabbath meal, and you eat a home cooked meal with them at the table. So you get to see the inside of a house. I know when I travel, to see the inside of homes in the local, the destination, really is revealing. It's not America. People live differently in different places. So you get to go inside and you see apartments here are actually smaller than what we're used to in the United States. The buildings are made out of different materials. They're made out of big cement blocks, not out of the board that we use in the States. It's a different vibe. I mean, it's completely different. And you see how the families live, and you can ask them questions and get to know them better. And the picture that you saw before, I also was at home hospitality down there. So I visited a family in the area of the Gaza wall on the Israel side. And I spoke to them and asked them, what is that like? And what happens when there are alarms? And I was able to talk to them and get a real sense of what their lives are like.
Wow. So, Judy, amazing. How do you find these families? Do you walk and knock on a door? I mean, how do you find the families that are going to, cook for all these people?
Well, these are connections that we've built. We have connections in different cities, depending. The one we recommend the most is usually Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, just because there's a large number of people who are available to do that, who are interested in meeting tourists. For them also, it's a big experience to meet tourists. It's not only, it's a two-way thing, people meeting people. But we have families in the agricultural settlements that are in different parts of the country. So you could be in the Galilee, for instance, which is a place where there are many Holy Land sites, and there meet a Jewish family in their home in an agricultural settlement, which is a very different experience than being in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. You can bake bread and have a culinary experience with people. All this being said, it depends on the length of the trip. So people who want to come here for, a 7-day trip, sometimes all of these things are hard to put into, and then we have to, decide what's most important.
Sure. How long do you recommend? Because it's a long flight. It takes a while to get there. So what do you suggest? I mean, a week seems like almost no time, not enough time at all.
We do tours for a week because people request them, and then it's very targeted, and then every minute counts. Because these are private tours, though, we get a lot done. So, and it's on the time that the people want. They're not rushed around if that's not the pace they want. So they're really, it's not a group thing where you're on and off the bus and let's move and everything. It's really meeting your needs and your time schedule. But in terms of a good number of days would probably be 10 to 12.
Yeah.
And if you did that, then you could also go to the southern part of Israel, to the desert, and perhaps even into Jordan to see Petra, for example, and even a bit more, which we coordinate. We create that as well, because you're just over the border and then you come up, you go out the south and come back the north or something like that.
That's amazing. How
So
many people are in a group?
These are all private groups. So this can be for 2 people. This can be for 20 people.
Oh, so it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And we often have multi-generational families. That's a big request.
That's amazing.
And the children and the grandchildren are all coming. And then sometimes we have 2 guides on the trip, depending, so that they have, all the needs are met. The grandparents may want something a little more serious there, but the grandchildren are not ready for that. So we kind of coordinate the whole thing and make sure that everybody is interested all the time. That's important.
That's amazing.
That sounds great. Well, you mentioned food. The food was fabulous. So let me add this picture here. What is this?
Oh,
this
my goodness.
The food was fabulous, really.
So these are bureka, and this is in in East Jerusalem. This is being served. This is cheese. It's a phyllo dough with a cheese filling. It's one of my favorites. It's not a dietetic food, I have to admit. Yes, so that's actually excellent. We do have culinary workshops. If there's time permitting, then people they cook, they learn about the recipes. We have one that's actually very cool, and it can only be done in a certain season, where people go foraging. If you know what foraging is, when you go out into the forest and you pick the plants. Yeah, so we do that, but again, that's a certain season. But they're wonderful. And then you have, I think there might be a picture there, I'm not sure, but there's a leaf that's a thistle. It's a thistle, and it has white veins going through a green leaf. And the white veins are said to be the milk of Mary. So it has actually significance, Christian significance, and it's extremely tasteful. You take there are thorns on it.
It's not this, is it?
No. And then that's not it. That's the Sea of Galilee a week ago. That was
okay.
So cooking can be many different things. It could be cooking from walking through the market, the shuk, the outdoor market, a guided tour, and then you buy the different ingredients and then cook together, and you learn about these foreign ingredients and foreign spices. It could be foraging. It could be eating in the home of a Druze family. Druze are another ethnic group in Israel that serve in the Israel army. They are not Arab, they're not Jewish, they're not Christian. They have their own religion, and they have their own, they have a few towns where they live in Israel. Very interesting to go in those towns, and there is home hospitality there too that we arrange. And then you get to eat their foods, which are completely different. And you can also do a cooking workshop where you cook along with them and then eat the foods.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because really, I mean, that's how you get to know a place. The food, it makes it really it's the history, it's everything. The culture, the celebrations, food is where it's at. So that is really neat, a way to do it.
Well, there's one.
So go ahead.
I was going to say there's one very popular food that's becoming very popular now in the States, at least on the East Coast, and it's called Knafe, Knafeh. You might look out for it. It's a dough, and then there's a sweet cheese put on top of it. A cheese, not a sweet cheese, a goat cheese on it, and then more dough, and then it's rose water is on top of that. It is delicious when prepared right. So we go to eat that in the Arab towns. Like, that's where you need to eat it. This is their recipe, and this is like amazing.
Wow.
And somebody I read recently has brought it over to the U.S. If you look around, you might find it. They're
we might find it.
Yeah.
Look for it. So I'm curious about what this is. You sent this picture to us, so why don't you tell us?
Oh, that's actually upside. It's on it needs to be turned, rotated minus 90. Those. Yeah.
I don't know if I can. Sorry, I don't know if I can. I'll take it out.
Turn your head. That's the gate to the Mount of Beatitudes, where the Sermon on the Mount was given. And I was there a week ago. The place is empty. I have never seen it like that. Usually the parking lot is packed with buses. You can't get in there. It's it is empty. I was the only person there.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I met a nun on a bicycle outside. Her habit was flying, and she's on a bicycle doing exercise. And I said, I'd love to come in. Is it possible? And she let me in. The gardens are magnificent there. The whole experience is. And they are empty. So that's a Franciscan monastery, I should say, where Jesus is said to have given the Sermon on the Mount. That's this example.
Wow.
Holy moly.
It must be strange now to not have a lot of tourists there. It must be
very strange. Yes.
What's the busiest time of year? Is it just year round? I mean, I imagine for Christians around Christmas time or Easter. Yes.
Right.
And then
like that, I don't recommend it because it's difficult to get into sites. August is also busy because people come with children, so that's school vacation, but I don't recommend that either because it's really hot. My favorite time of the year would be from November to April, May, something like that. Avoiding the Jewish holiday of Passover. Never come near that.
Yes.
Winter time here is so mild that, and also that the climate is different in different cities. So Jerusalem might be cold and it might even snow. It could snow. But when you're like in the desert or in different places, the weather is different. So you layer your clothing, you're prepared for rain, but it's just refreshing. It's just wonderful. And it's very green. It's beautiful and green. And the desert actually is red. There are these wonderful flowers that flower the whole desert with red flowers. And Israelis are nuts about this. See it, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow.
So those are poppies. And Israelis, well, that's me taking the picture. You see my shadow there. The Israelis make it a festival. So for a few weeks of the winter time and around January, February, this is when they blossom. And people will go out for weekends to see the flowers, just to see the flowers and sit with them and go home. That's it. So it's a big deal.
Oh, that's amazing. That's very cool. So I know what this is. It's a segue. But is this a way that you like to have people tour, or is it an option, a fun? Oops, I did the wrong one. A fun option. Let me put it back in. Yes, hold on, I'm under pressure.
No pressure here. There we go. All right.
There we go.
There we go.
So that is an option. Behind the rider here is Jaffa Gate, the entrance to the old city. She's standing in front of it in the Western Jerusalem. If she goes through the gate, then she'll be in East Jerusalem. And this segue is a way to tour. If you're the correct age, I think you need to be at least 16 years old. And they're very safe. As you can see, helmets and everything. You get some instruction. And you can explore with a group. You don't go on your own. With a leader as well, a guide, to see different places in Jerusalem. And it's also available in Tel Aviv.
Oh my golly, that's amazing.
That's really neat. That's fun. So I have a question. I did notice that you do promote some like active trips. So what type of activities? If someone really wants to go, they want the history, they want the food, but then they want to, do something, whitewater raft or whatever. Is something like that available too?
Yes, absolutely. So there's one picture there, or that video I think I sent of the horseback rider.
Yes, I did not know how to do it.
We'll just talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
We also do equestrian trips, and they can be for people who really ride. They want to see part of the country riding. We do that. We set that up. In this case, we had a client who wanted to do riding for a few days. He rode in the Negev. He was here in February. He had a fabulous trip. He was on his own. But he had a guide for the whole thing, and he went horseback riding in the Negev, saw places that he couldn't get to on foot. So he was
that's amazing.
Very happy. But we also set up the whole, like, people want to actually tour that way, and that can be done. So we can set that up. And that would be for horse riding.
Do people camp in the desert? Do people camp?
Yes, that's another very big thing. In the desert, we have glamping now, and we have different kinds of like cabins that are in nature. They're like very remote, and that can be set up as well. That can't be for a large group because there are only so many of them. So that's for a family, for a couple, small kind of tours. And then the locations are amazing in the middle of the desert. There's one place that has personal swimming pools in the desert, and
Wow.
you're totally private, and you can see the stars, which are amazing because there are no lights in that area. So there are these different things, yeah, that are really very cool. And yes, there's rafting in summer, generally, and there's also camping with a tent. Like you could actually, do just plain camping, which is fairly new here. We're big campers from the United States way back, and we took a tent out a few years ago in the wintertime in December to tent, and we were told, no, there's no tenting here. I mean, the weather is perfect. There's no reason for there not to be tenting. And now in the last 2-3 years, they've opened up these parks and said, like the light bulb went off. Yes, tenting. And now the Israelis are going tenting too. But
that's cool.
Great. Yeah. And especially if you have the support to do it. So if you're coming in from another country, you need somebody to support you. So you have what you need. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about this bird.
Birds. We have birds here twice a year. They migrate. They migrate in the summer, or in the fall, I should say. They leave the warmer places, and they go to they go the other way. They go from Europe to the warmer places, and then in the springtime they do the reverse trip. So this is a bird that's migrating. He's coming from. This was taken, I think, in the springtime. So he is going from the warmer places to Europe. And they all pass over Israel. Israel is located in such a location geographically, they all have to stop here because the water bodies, there's water that they go over, and they can only go for a certain distance over water, and they need to land, and we're the land. So they come here, and there's a funny story where they were, birds were, cranes in particular, gray cranes were coming into the fields of farmers in the north. And they were eating up all the crops and everything, and they were pests, basically. Well, somebody had the brilliant idea of taking those fields and actually bringing food to them, and now turning that into a tourist attraction, tourists being Israelis and foreigners. Today, you go there from November until January or so, it's filled with birds, and that's what you do. You go up there to see the birds that are migrating, that are coming. You've got herons and cranes and I don't know, lots. And they come across. And you see them, they live there for a bit, and they, get their energy back, and they eat, and then eventually they go on. But it's become amazing now. Yeah.
So that would be a brilliant, that'd be a brilliant trip for somebody who enjoys bird watching and
we're a major destination for bird watchers. This is known to be a place to come if you're a bird watcher. So it's another activity.
That's amazing.
So I will put this picture in now, the one prematurely added before. So tell us about this.
Well, that is the Sea of Galilee right now. This is last week. And I was up there. The reason it's very special now is that we had a very rainy winter, and the water level rose and rose and rose. And that's why we see grass and so on underwater, because the shoreline was basically further out there a few years ago. And now it's all the way back. Yeah. So now it's wonderful. The water is green and cool and just beautiful. It was wonderful being in the Sea of Galilee. So that's the Sea of Galilee.
Oh, neat. So you're finding, I've been hearing that people talk about how everything seems cleaner and nicer now that people are not all over the place. Do you find just things are a little more settled down now that there aren't so many tourists? Not that we don't want tourists to come back.
No, they're missing. They're missing. And those no tour buses, nothing. No, we are just Israelis going out now to different hotels and different resorts and different locations, doing distancing, eating breakfast. Normally, Israel is known for its buffet breakfasts, where you come down in the hotel, and they have these huge selection of foods of every kind, and you can attest to that, I'm sure. And now it's different. So now the buffet is there, but you're not allowed to touch anything. So there's somebody with gloves on and a mask on behind the counter, and you point to what you want, and that person fills your plate. Or you can ask to have a basket made for you, and you can take it to a location wherever you want to eat. So those are the options now. It's changed. Those buffets will not be back the way they were. They're now behind plexiglass. It's a different feeling.
Yeah.
We're making it work. So that's what's very wonderful about that.
Absolutely.
So So we talked a little bit about a good time to visit, but you shared some pictures that show why you might want to visit in the winter. So
Right.
I'll put those in the stream.
Right.
So it's farming.
Yes.
Here's one. And actually, let me add another. See if I can add all of them.
Oh, look how pretty
maybe
that
not.
is.
Yeah.
In this
So-
particular place, it's called the salad trail, and you go there and you learn about the vegetables. You pick them, you eat them, and there's another picture there, I believe.
Yes.
Do you
Hold
have-
on. This one?
Yeah. Yes, that's the
This-
strawberry picture.
Oh my goodness gracious.
If you
From the
notice,
ceiling. Sorry.
yes, they're exactly right. They grow from on top. They're hydroponic, so there are no weeds and there are no bugs in them. They grow from the top and they grow down, and they are delicious. Yeah, that is them exactly. Right.
Oh my
So,
goodness gracious.
Yeah, and when you go there, so the tour is all year round. Basically, you can see this, but the winter time is really nice down there. The weather is cooler and a lot is growing then. So you get to go in the fields, you see how the vegetables and the strawberries grow, and you eat as you go and you learn. So children are thrilled. I mean, adults were thrilled too. We were all adults and it was wonderful.
Yeah. I love eating as I go. It's like,
Right?
it's the best.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Just nibbling.
So we have one picture left, and maybe you can tell us about this.
Well, this is the place I stayed in. And this is actually a youth hostel. So I stayed in
wow.
hostel, yes. It is a youth hostel on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, which is why it's so wonderful. There is no other address like that. There are a few hotels in the area, but this is like the best address. And there are rooms for couples as well. So in fact, it's a whole couple wing. And then there are rooms for families. I don't always put clients there because it can be noisy. Since it's a youth hospital, there are groups of kids. It can be high school kids and so on coming en masse. And I can't guarantee what that will be. So I don't always like that for clients, but I happen to love the place. And we've been going there for years with my family. So it's like going home.
And nobody's there
Hostels
now.
have changed. Right.
It was full of Israelis.
Well, I mean, hostels have changed so much since my backpacking days back in the 1990s. I've read that they're just like, there's so many that are beautiful now and really a good option for people who want to travel well, but economically and who like to meet people. Because that was the thing about hostels. I mean, you end up meeting people from all over the world, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
So we're almost at the end of the show. And so I guess my last question is, unless Amy has another one too, what else should we know? What do you suggest? So if somebody, you were saying that, good amount of time, at least 10 days, 12 days, 14 days, there's so many amazing things to see. How do you help people narrow it down?
Well, we listen very hard to their interests, to their requests, to their travel style. We listen very hard to the things that they must have and things that are less important. And then we put it together. But, at the end of the day, everybody's going to make a compromise. We do one other thing, and that is we do self-drive trips. And that happens to be the way I love to travel. You get your car and you go. But instead of just sending you out to go, we map out your trip for you. We plan out the accommodations on the route. We have guides meet you at different places where we think that's necessary, and activities would be booked. So you have your plan, your tour plan, and day 1, 2 what you're doing and how you're proceeding. And we're always in touch with our clients. We use usually WhatsApp, and we're unobtrusively in touch with them, and they know how to reach out to us. So they feel very safe and very cared for. And they use digital maps. We map out the whole thing on digital, so they see it on their device. And that's just another way of travel. Not everybody wants to be with a guide for the whole time, and but people do. So we've got the whole thing actually covered.
That's amazing. And how far in advance, Judy, should we start planning a trip to Israel? In normal times, take the world we live in right now out of the scenario, but when we have clients that contact us and say, I want to go to Israel, how far in advance do you think you and I should start talking?
Well, we get clients who really start even a year in advance. And for a year, generally, we're able to give kind of an outline. But, to really pin down the hotels and everything, that's kind of hard. 9 months, 6 months, we're already able to, pin it down much more and make sure they get the space they want, because things do get crowded.
Yeah.
In our experience at the top places, and things can be difficult to get. Even the top guides, we work very selectively with guides, and I can't guarantee that all the time either. So in advance is better than closer, but so right, from a year to 6 months is probably the window.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good.
And if somebody has a must-see spot, you'd probably recommend, if there's something they absolutely have to do, at least a year, right? I mean, for the most popular locations.
A year to book? Is
Yeah.
that what you're asking?
So if there's something that somebody has to see, like if they have to visit one particular spot, probably sooner rather than later, right? So if they're thinking, that they should contact you or us or whoever. So anyway,
they should contact you, and it probably should be 9 months out is good.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. So where can people find you? How can they connect with you on social, or what's your website, and if they want to find out more?
Thank you. CustomIsraelTours.com, and I'm on Facebook under that URL as well. And my email is trips@customisraeltours.com. But if I can put that in the chat or something, I can do that too.
Very good. Well, thanks again for coming on, and thanks for joining us. Next week, we're heading to Argentina with Gustavo Heidman.
Easy for you to say.
I'm going to catch that in rerun.
Yeah, definitely. It's 1:30 in the morning for you, so yeah, you get a rerun. It's fine. It's fine.
But we'll be talking about food and wine and visiting Patagonia, so it'll be a great trip. And if you want to be reminded, just type "remind me" below, and we will remind you. But in the meantime, thanks for stopping by Janine and Amy's Travel TV Live. We can't wait to get back out into the world. We know brighter days are on the horizon. So keep dreaming about traveling and find joy at home. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye. Bye, Judy.
Bye.
Bye, Judy.